Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing and am, as always, honored and grateful to have you here. So thank you so much. In this week's episode, we're talking about self-care, the importance of self-care for Reiki business owners. Now, here's the thing with this topic of self-care. We hear this all of the time, right? Oh, you have to practice self-care. You have to take care of yourself and make sure to put your own oxygen mask on first. I mean, we even hear it on airplanes. So we hear this all of the time, but we need to hear it all of the time because so often it is indeed a challenge for us as Reiki business owners to practice quote unquote self-care. You know, as business owners, as any kind of business owner, it's a busy kind of a thing. And I don't know about you, dear Reiki business owner, but I know that I got a lot going on as a Reiki business owner, and I'm sure that you do as well. And for those of you who have yet to start a Reiki business, yes, indeed, it is a busy kind of thing. You know, I do want to say, though, that the busyness isn't always necessarily in and of itself a bad thing. So when we hear that, oh, I'm so busy, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a negative thing, nor does it have to be. And, you know, that idea of, oh, I'm so busy, that's such a catchphrase now, isn't it? You know, when we ask someone, how are you? Oftentimes, the first thing they're saying is busy. And that's like the rote answer now. How are you? Busy. Well, of course, everyone is busy. So here's the thing. Even if you weren't a Reiki business owner, you would still be busy. Quote unquote busy, because of course that is the thing now. And we are indeed also busy. But let's be real that being a Reiki business owner indeed does have a lot of stuff that comes along with it. Things like, of course, meeting with clients, if that is the Reiki business model that you have, or creating product, sourcing materials for the products, dealing with vendors, scheduling clients, dealing with website things or email issues if you have an email list. So all kinds of things that we do as Reiki business owners. I mean, buying sheets and paying bills and just anything and everything. There's a lot that we do. And so let's be real that indeed being a Reiki business owner entails a lot of stuff. And so, yes, indeed, we are busy. Again, busy in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. But, you know, we may want to really consider our use of the word busy, how we're using that, and how we're answering when people are asking us, how are you? And we're just saying right up front, busy. Because oftentimes this is coming from a place of a need to let other people know that indeed we are doing things, and to kind of almost in a sense, it's like busy has become a status symbol. How are you? Busy. Well, wow. Well, of course I'm busy. I'm important. And if you're not busy, then you're not important. And so let's really take a look at how we are talking about our busyness, our schedule, and the ways in which we are communicating that to others and to ourselves. Because what it really says then is it reflects upon our own individual self-care kinds of approach and how we are looking at our own life and the idea of self-care. Because if we are so quote unquote busy, then how can we ever find time to take care of ourselves? But it really is true as Reiki business owners that not only do we have a lot going on, and not only are we busy people, because again, everyone is busy. It also is important for us to be paying attention to that self-care aspect so that we can be bringing our best self to our work, whether that is the creation of products or meeting with clients, creating social media posts, writing emails, whatever it is that we might be doing in our Reiki business. We want to make sure to be bringing our best self. And in order to bring our best self, we need to be taking good care of ourselves. So let's make sure that we are thinking about and reflecting upon this idea of busyness and how that might be impacting our perceived amount of time for self-care and the ability to fit it into our schedule. So let's first and foremost really consider the ways in which we are talking about and thinking about our schedules and how that might impact our perceived ability to take a break and practice self-care. You know, as it pertains to self-care, I really want to emphasize that this is very individualistic. And so no one can tell you how much self-care you should be doing. No one can tell you if you need to take a break. No one can tell you what your limit is. That's for you to define. And so let's say that in your Reiki business, you are really busy and you're going crazy. You're seeing clients left and right. You have people coming in and out and you are just go, go, go. Someone may look at that and say, wow, that person needs to take a break. They are just really going crazy and they need to schedule in some self-care. They need to take care of themselves. But you might not be feeling that. You might be feeling energized. You might be feeling alive. You might be feeling excited. You might be thriving on all of that activity. And so it's really important for each of us to know what self-care means to us and how we want to and need to practice it. And so that means that let us all make sure that we are defining for ourselves what that looks like to us, and that we aren't allowing others to dictate to us what it means to practice self-care and what that really is all about. And so, for instance, let's say that you are indeed someone who has a fully booked schedule. You've got lots of things going on, clients here and clients there. You are creating a new program and you're writing a book and you are just doing all of these different crazy, great things. But to you, you don't feel burned out. You don't feel tapped out. You don't feel like you're going to crash into a wall. And then let's say that there's someone else who is maybe in their Reiki business, they're just seeing a few clients here and there. Maybe their max number of clients per week is 5. And they're like, I can't handle any more than 5 clients a week. And they are doing other things in their Reiki business, maybe creating products, and maybe they create, one new product a month or something. And they're like, that's it. That's my limit. And someone might be looking at that Reiki business owner and saying, oh, they're so lazy. They're not doing anything. Look how slow they work. They only see 5 clients a week. Give me a break. I see 20 a week. What is that person even doing? When that person with the 5 clients a week, the 1 new product a month, they may be feeling that's their limit. And once they go beyond that, they just feel depleted, tapped out, ineffective, and inefficient. And so that person knows what their limit is, and the other person who is go, go, go also knows that that's where they feel good and comfortable, and that doesn't feel like too much to them. So let's make sure that we are honoring our own definitions of self-care and our own needs for self-care, and that we're honoring one another's and trusting that each of us are indeed going to be able to feel that out for ourselves, and to not judge one another when it doesn't seem like someone is taking enough time for self-care, because ultimately that's a reflection on us. When we look at someone and we say, oh, that person is doing all of these things, and gosh, they must just not have any time for themselves, and they're just gonna hit a wall here. They're gonna burn out. They need to be careful. What we're really saying is that wouldn't feel comfortable to me. I would burn out if I was doing that. I don't want to do that, or I can't do that, or that doesn't feel self-nurturing to me. So let's make sure that we aren't projecting our own ideas of self-care onto others, and that we're allowing everyone else the space to feel that out for themselves. Because truly, with self-care, it really is a feeling out for ourselves. We can't know what our limits are until we surpass them. We can't know when we are headed for burnout unless we've been there before, unless we know what that's like. And so what that means is that on our Reiki business journey, we're going to have times when we come to a point where we are like hitting a wall, where we are approaching burnout, or we even get to burnout. And we actually need to get to those points in order to know where our limit is. It's kind of like with weightlifting or some other kind of exercise, that we can't know what our limits are until we hit those limits. And just like with weightlifting, when you're lifting weights, your muscles are going to grow when they hit their limit. Yeah, they're going to grow even when they don't hit their limit, but they're really going to grow when they hit their limit. When you are pushing to a point where it's like, I can't push this weight anymore. Yes, that's the point of greatest potential for muscle growth. And so when we hit those points on our Reiki business journey where we feel tapped out, we feel burned out, we feel like, man, we got to take a break, absolutely honor that, trust that, know that, and follow that. So know and have confidence in yourself when you approach that point to be able to honor that feeling and practice self-care. But also know that we cannot know what our limits are unless or until we're bumping up against them. And so what that means is that that person who can only handle and only wants 5 clients, I don't want to say can only handle, because that almost seems to imply some form of weakness. And of course, it's not about that. That Reiki business owner who only wants 5 clients a week and feels good on 5 clients a week, they can only come to that point because they've hit 6 clients a week and said, no, thank you. This doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel right. And so we can set our limits for ourselves when we know what they are. And we can't know what our limits are unless or until we have surpassed them. Now, of course, everyone, this is not a claim for burning out. This is not an encouragement for you to go, go, go and push your limits and go crazy and burn yourself out. Please, that is not what I'm saying at all. I think you know what I'm saying here. Whereas we all have our own limits in our Reiki business and in our lives. And we need to set those limits for ourselves and not allow others to dictate what those limits are for us. And we can really only know what our limits are when we have gone past them. And so that person who is go, 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 maybe at some point they will come to a limit with that and be like, wow, I can handle 20 clients a week, but 25 is just too much. Great. Then they know that their limit is 20 and they can honor that and trust that and stay at that limit for their own self-care. So let's honor and acknowledge our own limits, and let's honor and acknowledge that we really can't know what our limits are unless or until we hit them. Now, what that also means is that when we hit those limits, we need to practice self-compassion. We need to be gentle with ourselves. We need to release judgment of ourselves for hitting or surpassing those limits. Now, what I mean by this is, let's say you hit a limit. You are seeing those 25 clients a week, and you are like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. How did I ever get myself into this? Why did I do this to myself? Why did I ever think that I could take on 5 more clients? That's what I'm talking about. That's the point where we need to be practicing self-compassion, gentleness, releasing judgment of ourselves for taking on more than we realized we were taking on, practicing compassion for surpassing our limits and quote unquote burning out or crashing, hitting the wall, and just needing to take a day's long nap, whatever it might be. Let's make sure that in those moments we are practicing self-compassion. We are releasing judgment of ourselves for getting to that point. Because again, we can't know what our limits are unless or until we hit that kind of point where we're like, no more. That's all I can take. So let's release judgment of ourselves for when we hit that point. And let's release judgment of ourselves for the feelings that come along with it. And let's just say, that is part of the process. Now, let me take a step back. Let me recharge, rest, relax, recover. Let me take some time to practice some self-care, whatever that might mean to you. And let's come back knowing that that is our limit. And so that we know that when we start to approach that again, that 20, I've tried 25 before, it didn't go well. 20 is my limit, and let's respect that. Now, I will say, if you try again and you're like, well, 25 was a challenge before, but maybe I could try it again, that's okay too. So that's okay too. So I want to encourage us to release judgment of ourselves if we know the limit and then we're like, maybe I can try this again. And we approach that limit again and we're like, nope, definitely not after all again still. Let us still practice self-compassion in those moments, and let us still release judgment of ourselves, even for doing it again. Because that is indeed part of the process. when it comes to practicing the self-care, just like no one can tell you what your limit is, also no one can tell you what that self-care looks like. No one can tell you what that rest and recharging looks like. That is for you to define. Now, for me, it looks like practicing my 7-way path. And the 7-way path is 7 practices, 7 transformative practices. Gratitude, cleaning, nature, walking, ritual, journaling, and silence. So those are things that I do for my own self-care, and I actually do them little bits at a time and consistently. And I think that this is a great way to approach this idea of self-care to help keep us recharged, where we're not hitting our limit and then taking a chunk of days to recharge, but rather we're doing little bits of recharging throughout the day, the week, the month, the year. It's kind of like with your phone. And are you the kind of person who with your phone, you let the battery get completely depleted and then plug it in? Or do you plug it in a little bit here and a little bit there to let it charge? Or with your gas tank, do you let your your tank run down to empty and then fill it all the way up? Or do you fill it up a little bit here, a little bit there? There is no right or wrong, and either way is absolutely okay, but it's just important for us to know what works for us. For me personally, those little bits here and there really do work. So like, for instance, my morning for me is very important, and I take a couple of hours in the morning to do all kinds of things, exercise and stretch and meditate, and just all kinds of things in the morning that I like to do. And that's part of my own self-care, and I do that every single day. Whereas someone else might not do that at all, jump right into their day, and then they'll take a full day of rest and recharge where they're doing no work whatsoever. If someone were to look at it on the surface, I work 7 days a week. In my Reiki business, I work 7 days a week. And someone might say, oh my gosh, Christian, you are heading for major burnout. What are you doing? What are you thinking? But the truth is, I like it. And the truth is, I don't work all day, all 7 days. I will work some days all day, some days a little bit here and there. Yes, there are days when I don't do a single thing in my Reiki business, but those days are very few and very far between. But that doesn't feel burdensome to me. I actually enjoy it. I love my Reiki business, and I love doing all of the things that I do in and for my Reiki business. And so it's not a chore. It's not a thing that burns me out to work every single day. Another Reiki business owner might say, no way, I need a couple of days a week completely apart from my Reiki business to recharge. And that's okay too. There's absolutely nothing wrong with either way. What is really important is that we know what is right for us, that we feel that out, that we give ourselves grace and space to feel that out, that we release judgment of ourselves when we hit those points of needing to take a break, when we reach those limits, that we use that as information to help us then as we approach that limit the next time, and to help us avoid burning out or reaching that limit. It is okay to burn out. And when I say it is okay, I mean in terms of releasing judgment of yourself, recognizing that oftentimes it is part of the business owner process, and that it is part of the journey and the growing that comes from being a business owner and being a Reiki business owner. And so what that means when I say it's okay, what I'm saying is that I'm encouraging us to release judgment of ourselves for getting to that point. Release judgment of yourself for hitting that wall, for coming up against that limit, and sending self-love and compassion when you get to, and it's not if, it's when, because we all come to those points on our Reiki business journey. And just because you do it once and you set the limit doesn't mean you're not going to do it again, because you might find that there's a limit in some other aspect of your business that you are coming up against. So it's important for us to release that judgment, love ourselves, send Reiki to ourselves. Of course, please, that is an important part of my personal self-care practice. But to know what fills us up and to be able to practice that for ourselves. You know, I'm just thinking of a time when I was a vendor at an expo, and the organizer was saying, everyone, make sure that you take breaks throughout the weekend. Make sure that you practice self-care. Make sure that you fill up your own cup first, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. We hear that all of the time. But I will say that at these events, I am go, go, go. Like, I will do readings back to back to back to back. Someone else will look at me and say, oh, Christian, you need to stop and take a break and fill up your own cup. But what that person might not realize is that I've been doing filling up beforehand, and I'm going to be doing filling up afterward. And I don't need to take that time during that weekend to fill up my cup, because I'm filling up before the event and I'm filling up after. And so we all need to feel that out for ourselves and know what's right for ourselves, and honor our own limits, honor other people's limits, and know that filling up our cup and self-care is going to look different to and for each of us, and to simply honor that, and to simply know that we all have the capacity to feel that out for ourselves. And indeed, no one else can tell you what your limits are. Indeed, no one else can tell you how to practice self-care. So I'm sending lots of blessings and best wishes to your own self-care, no matter what that might look like for you. If you are interested in learning more about the 7-way path of 7 transformative practices that I personally practice, I've got interviews about them on the Standing Stones Healing YouTube channel, and videos about the 7-way path that you can indeed check out for inspiration. I like and use all of those tactics, those techniques, and they truly are transformative, each of them in and of themselves. And so that really helps me with my own self-care. But I encourage you to practice your own self-care in whatever way feels right to and resonates with you. As always, you are welcome to snag the free Reiki Biz Kit at standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Kit. And as always, you are welcome to jump in on the Build Your Reiki Business program. I do talk a little bit about the importance of self-care in the Build Your Reiki Business program. You can learn more at standingstoneshealing.com/build, and indeed start building your own Reiki business right away. So sending so many blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business, no matter where you are on your Reiki business journey. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.